Debate is a unique event that focuses on design-centric conversations that helps to find design solutions that are sustainable and futuristic. The aim of the event is to bring together design minds and encourage conversation about design that decodes the design vision for the future. This event's theme is aesthetic versus economic. And moving forward, I would like to welcome on stage our Managing Director of ITP Media India. I would like to invite on stage Mr. Vibhor Srivastava. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Vibhor Srivastava?
Very good evening and a very warm welcome. Namaskar, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be in Chandigarh, this beautiful city, and some incredible, great minds. And I think a city that is given not only to India, but the world a great messaging, how beautifully and intelligently and forward-looking city that has been planned. I remember, if I jog my memories, when we came last year, and we started with design debate in Chandigarh, and that point of time, our topic was tradition versus technology. The whole objective is to bring the fraternity together to talk about subjects and topics which really, educate the industry at large. And when we were toying with the idea and we said, who better than who understands this city and the flavor and the culture and the people? So I would like you to, for one, give a huge round of applause to architect Sangeet Sharma. This could be a little louder. He's a curator, the Sutradhar, the anchor, and somebody who stood with us, reposed so much of confidence in us to believe that what we do is neutral, is credible, and meaningful. Ladies and gentlemen, what you saw, I really don't want to give you a discourse as to who we are, what do we do for a living, but whatever we do, we believe and we are very proud that we bring incredible publications, and we are very digitally inclined as well, and we are present in all platforms. So in terms of the knowledge dissemination, we make sure that we reach out to the industry, to the country, and bring the latest that is happening in the industry. And when we launched ITP in India about 12 years back, we launched with Hotelier India. That really gave birth to many such publications which you as designers are very closely associated, be it residential, commercial, projects, infrastructure, hospitality, healthcare, and trust me, we do. But I don't want to stand between you and some prolific speakers and some incredible discussion. So just to labor about 30 seconds on aesthetics versus economics. So when we covered this tradition versus technology, we had immense learning, and we took it home for everybody, and then we obviously brought it to the rest of the design fraternity. Then we labored and we said, what should we bring together as a point of topic which really ignites our minds? And that's gave birth to this year, which is aesthetics versus economics. And when I was talking to architect Sangeet Sharma ji, he said, Vibhor, this is something which will really spark off many ideas, many debates, and many collaboration. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I think this evening is going to be really very enlightening, and I, for one, is looking forward to actually devour every bit of it. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You've been obviously one of the best audiences that I've come across all over the country. Thank you, and all our lovely partners who have stood with us and supported this initiative. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for your kind words. And now I would like to call upon the stage Mr. Puneet Kalia ji, who is a sales leader, Public North and East Professional Segment, Signify Innovations India, on stage to tell us all about the Signify and to deliver the welcome address. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Puneet Kalia?
I am Puneet Kalia. I'm sales leader with Signify, who's a global leader in lighting. I welcome all delegates for this AI Design Chandigarh chapter. I think the theme, as Mr. Vibhor was sharing with us, is aesthetics versus economics. And I'm sure we'll have panel discussions and panel discussion among veterans, young leaders, and industry people. And of course, we would have takeaways which would positively impact all of us, and of course it can be incorporated in designs and which can actually help us help the society in a better way. As Vivorji was mentioning that this is the design debate is necessary because we need to have the new ideas which can not only be in this city but of course across India. With that, I think once again I welcome you all and thanking all of you for gracing the occasion today evening. With that, we can start with the presentation of Signify. Okay, so as I was mentioning that we are global leader in lighting. Of course, in India, we are the market leader. We are present in 74 countries, having an employee strength of 37,000 people across globe. And we are clocking approximately revenue of 58,000 crore rupees a year. And we are not only number one in conventional, but also in LED and connected. So across the years, as we know that earlier it used to be tungsten lamp, then fluorescent tube, and then of course LED, now then the connected solution. So we have been number one across all technology transformations. And we are doing this all with 100% carbon neutral operations. So we are not adversely impacting the environment while doing all of 58,000 crore rupees a year revenue. So our innovations are around brighter lives, better world, how we can impact the world in a better way. So it starts with the safety and security of the people. Of course, any product which we give, so foremost pillar is safety and security. And then, of course, the health and well-being of employees, all stakeholders, where we use artificial lighting because we cannot have the sun everywhere. So artificial lighting it should impact adversely to any person. So health and well-being is one of the prime concern. And of course, climate action and circular economy. Climate action, we have solar solutions, which actually we are using renewable kind of energy, solar energy, which is abundantly available with us. And food availability, of course, resources are limited and population are increasing. So we would have a limitation of, I would say, water, land. So in Europe and all, I think already there is a lot of traction for lighting for horticulture and agriculture. And we are market leader for in lighting, which can possibly increase the productivity of crops. About the offices, there are three pillars in the offices for which any facility manager or probably business or business owners would see. One is continue focus on sustainability. This is, I think, across years, many years, this is the main one of the reasons which every facility managers are look for. And then, of course, increasing focus on reducing the real estate cost. And we see that Tri-City is expanding. Probably the reason is because real estate cost impacts any business a lot. And then where we can positively impact is for employee comfort and well-being. So why this is important is because 90% of any office cost is around employee. 9% is on real estate, 1% is on energy. So it is all the way that we have to see that how we can take care of the asset, or I would say the people which contribute 90% of the cost. So there are three factors. One, the temperature, and of course the artificial lighting, and then the noise. So if we see for any, I think for any person, we need to have ample sleep. And at the same time, we need to have abundance, I would say not abundance, in the sunlight. We should be exposed to sunlight so that our physiological and psychological parameters are perfect. So what we have seen in artificial lighting, we spend most of time indoors, which adversely impact our circadian rhythm. So with the help of lighting, how can we, I would say, improve the well-being of an employee? So this all is possible with the help of intelligent lighting system, which we have with us. These are all indoor applications, indoor products, which we take care about modularity, flexibility, and of course, aesthetically good-looking products, which we give in our any office or lighting space, any application area where it is required. And lighting management system. So with the help of lighting management system, we can remotely monitor and control all the lighting assets. So what all we can do, it is we can change the, I would say, color temperature. We can change the, increase or decrease the intensity of the light as per the customer need or the person need. So this is all possible with lighting management system, which can be wired or wireless. About outdoors, so outdoor also has to be very vibrant and good looking. So we have, I would say, the product range in bollards, post-op, where of course the landscaping can also be good for any building apart from the indoor which we talked about. The solar solution, I think I'll spend 1 minute on this, because this is one segment where we are doing all R&D from India for globe. So we are supplying all these products which is mentioned not only in India but US and Europe. So the reason is everybody is adversely impacted with the climate conditions which we see. And solar energy is a renewable form of energy, we all know that, and it is available in abundance in India. So there's factor of irradiation, which is, in India it is around 5, in Europe and all it is 2.5. So still they are opting for all these kind of solar solutions, but in India we are blessed to have, I would say, sun energy, and we have to just harness that sun energy for our application. So we have products which are off-grid, no cabling, no trenching, I would say, required, and for all waterfront or outdoors, even in indoors, there are applications which are possible with the help of solar solution. So the top one, the SunStay, which you can see, this is all-in-one. So you would have all charge controller, battery, panel, everything housed inside the luminaire. And the second one is Urban Spark, so which is, I would say, vertical integrated pole. And the pictures which you can see is of a tourism, Thrissur tourism department for a park in Kerala. And these are being installed in Ayodhya also for the Saryu riverfront area. Apart from indoor and outdoor, of course, there are unique designs for any building. In the daytime, you can, of course, have, I would say, appreciate the beauty of the buildings, monuments, but during the night, I think we have solutions where even during the night, you can equally appreciate the beauty which we witness during the day. So all the monuments, I would say, from Red Fort to Rashtrapati Bhavan, this all has been lit up by our facade lighting solutions, which is more of a dynamic and vibrant colors, which we can program and control. So at the end, so why Signify? So Signify, as I was mentioning, we are present globally, but I think we have a local experience, and we spend a lot of money on innovations, rightly so, because we have to, I would say, be as par with the time, and one-stop solutions for not only product, but also for services and systems. So what I mean by services and system is like, so probably this product, any downlighter, if I say example, this is a product. So when we were guaranteed for 5 years or 10 years, then it is a service which we'll give across the life class of the product. And if you want to connect it remotely and monitor it and control it wirelessly or with wire solution, so it is a system. So we are present in all the things, product, system, and services. And the final one is we have a proven record of quality and reliability, which I think is the most important for any offering which we give. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kalyan, for this insightful talk about the brand and talking about the brand. All right, so moving on. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our curator of this evening, a man who needs no introduction, architect Sangeet Sharma, who is author, architect, poet, singer, TEDx speaker, and motivator. And to introduce him, I would now like to call the heart of the organization, ITP Media India, the ever-dynamic, the ever-energetic Mr. Bibor Srivastava, Managing Director of ITP Media India. Let us have a huge round of applause for him. Can we have you on stage right now? All right, and with this, let me talk about Mr. Sangeet Sharma, who is a well-known practicing architect in Chandigarh. He is widely published, awarded, quoted, and celebrated for his sustainable and contemporary modern architecture. Sangeet is a multifaceted and personality, an architect, poet, architectural critic, artist, author, and motivational speaker, thinker, and a musician. He is a winner of 2 literary and awarded, namely National Book Honor Award for Castle in the Year and Award for Creative Excellence by First Friday Forum. I would like to call upon on the stage Soman Bhumik and Bibor Srivastava to please kindly come and join us. So can we have Mr. Soman Bhumik to please come and join us over the forum? All right, so can we have you, sir, on stage? Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Sangeet Sharma to please be on the stage? And it's such an honor. Thank you so much.
I think it's always very belittling and embarrassing to hear when they read the biodata. It's something, you have to hear that, and then the image builds up, and then people expect, wo hota nahi mere se. Anyway, thank you very much, Bibor. Thank you, Architects India and magazine. And this whole event is so wonderful. And I think this is the second time or the third time which I'm a part of this. This is special because unlike other events, it has a significance, it has a meaning, and they really care for what we do, what are the takeaways. And I think the topics which Bibor and his team decides is very relevant. So it's fun being on this stage, and I look forward for all your participation. You're not going to hear us or my panel. We are going to interact with each other, and that's what Bibor has told me. Thank you very much for this. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. So now we have a very special, again, AV of the Deconic AV. To better understand the brand, can we have a look on this very special? All right, so that's all, ladies and gentlemen. And now let us now have a look at the brand Jindal Steel and Power is all about. We have a very special AV once again. So before we actually welcome our business unit head structures, Mr. Subrat Panda, we have a very special video. Can we have a look on that? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Subrat Panda, who is the business unit head structure of Jindal Steels and Power, to please have on the stage. Can we have you on the stage right now? Please, ek bar zordar taliyan.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for having me here. And thank you to Mr. Bivor and ITP India for this opportunity. I will run you through to what we do at Jindal Steel and Power. And Jindal Steel and Power, we are basically an 8 million ton steel plant. We are located at Raigad in Chhattisgarh and Angul in Odisha. Those are our main steel making facilities. And we have another rolling unit at Patratu in Ranchi. Between the three of them, we do about 8 million tons of steel per year, about 55,000 crores of turnover. And our mission basically is building nations, empowering communities. This is what we are. We are also located in Oman, and we have got mining facilities across the world. So I'll run you through two of the main products that we do. One is the Jindal Panther rebars, the TMT rebars. Now, this is something that initially the rebars that we used to manufacture, what was initially available in India was in Fe415 grade. Then it moved to Fe500 grade, and we were the first to introduce the Fe550 grade. The Fe550 grade of steel, so we produce the rebars from iron ore, and so the consistency of the rebar is much higher when it compares to, because the input material is known. The method of production is through the concast route, which basically kills the oxygen which is there in the steel, and it is very low levels of sulfur and phosphorus. This is what we call as the rebars, what we call as the martensite ring. This is, the ring is very uniform when you use it, the technology that we use. The rib pattern, this is another important thing, that the YS and the UTS and the YS, we guarantee a minimum UTS and YS of 16, which basically helps you in the seismic zones. This is more important that if you look at the chart at the right, so if you are using Fe500 grade of steel compared to Fe415, there's an effective saving of about 20% in the use of steel that you do. If you use Fe550, it's the grade that we manufacture, the saving, the increase in strength is by about 32%. When we say 32%, it means that Fe415 and Fe550, if you see the gap, it is 32%. But, as the strength increases by 1%, your steel consumption goes down by about 0.5%. So your saving in steel is about 15 to 17%. And the prices of Fe550 and Fe500 is similar. So if you actually design with Fe550 compared to Fe500, you should be able to save about 7 to 8% of steel. So this is the product range that we have. We manufacture rebars, which is TMT bars. We manufacture wire rods. We manufacture plates starting from 6 mm to 150 mm. We manufacture rails. We are the only suppliers of rails apart from Steel Authority of India. We manufacture structures, sheet piles, coils, rounds and billets for the seamless industry. And we also do prefabricated steel, where we can give you beams up to 3 meters depth. In the structurals we manufacture, these are the products that we manufacture: angles, channels, beams, and here. And this is the range of structural that this is the widest range of structures that you have in India. We manufacture what is called as a universal beam, the IP sections, the HE sections, the W sections, which are basically used in Canada and the US, the NPV sections. And between the seven of all of them, we manufacture about 270, 280 sections. And the beams that we manufacture are basically parallel flange beams. They are not the tapered beams where you have the issues of bolting when you have. The advantages of structural steel is it is fast to construct, and it is, you can set up a building what would take in RCC about 3 to 4 years. This can be done in about a year with a steel building. This is again the same strength that we are talking about. In steel also, in structural steel also, we have E250, which is the base grade, and we manufacture up to E450. So compared between E250 and E450, the increase in strength is about 80%. And the saving in steel will be about 40% in terms of the volume of the steel. And if you move to the saving in terms of cost, it will be about 30%. Now, this is a new product that we have, it was granted to us in the month of March only. This is called a fire-resistant steel. So fire-resistant steel, you have many of the issues when it comes to developing, using steel in structures is that how do you protect it from fire? And most of the current methodology is that you use this intumescent coating or the vermiculite coating and use it, or you encase it in RCC and protect it. Now this fire-resistant steel is something that wherein you change the structure of the steel by using certain chemical and chemical additions and produce a steel which is resistant to fire. So this fire-resistant steel is produced as per a BIS grade called IS 15103, and it is rated to withstand temperatures up to 600 degrees centigrade for a maximum of 3 hours. And what we do is that we use microalloys like chromium, moly, and vanadium and niobium in this, and use the structure. So it is something similar to you using a vaccine for COVID, and instead of using a mask for COVID, that sort of so the paint is something as an external protection. This is something of an internal protection that happens in the steel. And the grade of electrodes that you can use this is available in E350 grade currently. And the certification is that you can use it for 600 degrees, at 600 degrees centigrade for 3 hours. We are the only suppliers, only certified manufacturers of this. And this is available only for structurals as on date. And it is available for the entire range of structurals that we manufacture. So this is similar to what we are talking, that what is fire protection by an external medium and a fire-resistant steel which is there as per here. In the case of an external protection, it is a base material plus external application. Here the base material does the job. There is no increase in the weight of the structure. There is no increase in the time of for applying the structure at the site, for applying the paint at the site. So there's no frequent external protection, external maintenance which is required. And the cost portion of it, this is these are what we have put out, that when you use a fire protection compared to a fire-resistant steel. These are the various sections that we manufacture. At the bottom, if you see, there is the different sections. So as the surface area increases, the cost of protection goes up. So the lighter the section, the more is the cost of protection. So intumescent plate for 2 hours and intumescent plate for 4 hours. If you compare that and what is there when it comes to our own fire. So it comes anywhere between about 1,27,000 rupees a ton to 18,000 rupees a ton. And this fire-resistant steel is currently available at around 16,000, 17,000 rupees a ton. So, and this is the chemistry of the material that is there. This is as per IS 15103. And this is the strength of the material which is there. That is again as per IS 15103. So there are 2 grades, FE 4110 and FE 490. We are currently certifying in FE 490, which is a yield strength of 350 MPa. This is the sampling process that we have. And these are some of the questions that come when it comes to the fire-resistant steel. Currently it is available only in the structural sections that we have. And we'll show you a sample TC of it This is the sample test certificate that we have for this. And this is the BI certification. This was handed over to us on the 15th of March by Mr. Piyush Goyal, because this was the first certification in the country and in the World Consumer Day. So this is the certification, and this is available for across the structural range that we are. And the last slide on the right, the diagram on the right shows how the steel behaves after it has reached 600 degrees centigrade. That's all that I wanted to, yeah. And I think we were talking about aesthetics and economics. I think steel is one product wherein aesthetics and economics both go hand in hand. Thank you so much.
Can we have a big round of applause, everyone? Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind gesture. And now here comes the most much awaited part of this program, our panel discussion, right? So kicking off our panel, we have the dynamic next generation architects, the ones who will dictate the architecture of tomorrow, getting up on the stage. And to introduce them, I would like to invite none other than our curator and moderator back on stage. Can we bring yourself on stage with a big round of applause? Architect Sangeet Sharma, a huge round of applause, please.
Friends, I'll speak about the topic a little. Aesthetics, as we understand that it's to do with the beauty, it's to do with the outlook of the product. I normally give this example to my class and my students. The best example of a perfect aesthetics is the spoon. Na kam, na zyada, na bada, na chota. It was just perfect, and uska function bhi jo hai uske hisab se. So a chair or something like that, you know, which is so that I think that the function and the look combined together. हम सब के पास Apple phones हैं, and we pay considerable amount for this Apple phone. But then I think there is something at the back of the mind कि ये इसका जो product function है और जो इसका outlook है, it combines to make something more aesthetical. So aesthetics is this. आप सब जानते हैं, but I'm doing my job. Economy is, we all know. We value in terms of economy everything, whether it's a country's GDP or a home budget or a college budget, personal budget. And आज का topic जो है ये एक मिश्रण है. I think this is what they want, and they want us to understand कि इसका जो global impact है, या personal impact है, local impact है, वो क्या हो सकता है? I have a fantastic panel with me. I have other super doyens with me. It's essentially the idea of this forum of architects and builders, that how the new generations, they have their own ideas. The people who are already experienced, they have their ideas. I am the moderator. मेरा बस इतना ही काम है कि इसको बुलवाना और खुद चुप रहना. इसलिए मैं पहले ही बोल रहा हूँ. I'm going to invite my next gen friends. May I invite Amrit on the stage, please. Friends, this is Amrit Panwar. आइए. One of her, I was asking her कि Amrit, आपका most favorite project कौन सा है? And she says, I've done a very beautiful Meenakshi saloon. तो मेरे ख्याल ये वहीं से होके आ रहे हैं, अच्छे लग रहे हैं. So Meenakshi saloon is something which are favorite, besides others. May I invite Aman Sohol on the stage, please? Friends, we all know him. He is a person जिसको I had difficulty to choose कि next gen में डालूं या doyens में डालूं, क्योंकि ये एक मुकाम पे ये वटिके हुए हैं. वैसे doyen बनते हैं, लेकिन next gen में मैंने इसको डाल दिया. A very fantastic, versatile person, my personal favorite, who is a musician, a very talented artist, and so this is a group which is, very dynamic, and Amrit is a multiple award winner person, और मेरे ख्याल सारे आते हैं इसको अवार्ड दे जाते हैं. Her work is so good. She also teaches. May I invite Gurleen Kaur on the stage, please? Gurleen is an architect, a Griha consultant, doing very beautiful jobs in both in terms of architecture and interiors. It's very exciting to note, friends, कि आजकल के जो लोग हैं and generations जो हैं, they do a lot of interiors. हमारे ज़माने में वो interiors वो होते ही नहीं थे, या वो हमारे फादर कहते थे कि जो बिल्डिंग तुम बना रहे हो उसी का इंटीरियर करो बहुत है. And that became a sort of a project कि जो आप बिल्डिंग बना रहे हैं उसका इंटीरियर्स कर रहे हैं. But this generation has the ability, the capability, and the opportunity to do exclusive interior jobs, which I find something very interesting and very bold. Gurleen is heading a firm with her husband, Mukul, and आज का बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है, जो हस्बैंड्स हैं वो नीचे बैठे हैं, वाइफ्स ऊपर बैठी हैं. बगा साहब जब आएंगे ना वो बताएंगे कि मैं वाइफ्स को ही फेवर करता हूँ. I'd like to invite Shivansh on the stage. He is also my son. So also word is very emphatic here, because हम लोग जब stage पे होते हैं तो हम father son नहीं होते. We argue, we fight, and we are very versatile in terms of our ideas. So आज he's on a different platform. When I tell him कि you have something called a legacy to carry forward, he says, please don't talk about all this to me. I've been seeing you like this, it's enough. मैं ठीक है. There is Shivansh. By the way, he's a coffee roaster himself, and he has got his own roastery. सुबह 4 बजे जाते हैं और 11 बजे वापस आते हैं. Who roast coffee beans, and he has seen that architecture से पेट नहीं भरता, and therefore he's doing this. So who else is left? Who? Tarun. Where is Tarun here? Hi Tarun, आजा यार. Again, a very artistic, very bold, very popular with his generation. Tarun is again, he understands the client, he understands the dynamics, and I have there some of the projects which I asked for, and I am seeing them. I think with every generation, their works are so good, and their ability to translate the client into the product is fantastic. I think हम इनसे इसलिए शुरू कर रहे हैं because मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि 25 साल के बाद जब इनके काम हम देखते हैं, we feel that we missed something. There's some dynamism which we lacked. हम लोग मारी खाते रह गए, whether parents हैं या clients हैं या वो consultants हैं, उनकी बातें सुनते रह गए. But this generation is a way apart. They are, जब वो उतरे अपना after taking the BS degree, they had enough confidence. We in my generation, I think most of us will agree, हमने confidence gain किया, काम कर करके सीखा. But somehow most of them, when I ask them, they say कि सर हमने तो 3rd year में काम शुरू कर दिया था. I was making views for somebody, I was doing working drawing for somebody. So I think they are more versatile. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, my fantastic panel, one loud applause for them. सवाल इस बात का कि इन लोगों से क्या सवाल पूछें. But there is something which we have to start the dialogue was. And I told them कि panel discussions सबसे boring होते हैं. मैं खुद नहीं सुनता. So our endeavor is that we communicate, we talk. हमने शब्दों में नहीं घुसना, हमने उसके इर्द-गिर्द घूमना है. And whatever we are trying to talk has to be meaningful for you all and for us. Just to the point and 40 minutes precise. Gurleen, I'm going to ask you a question. Our topic is all about aesthetics. Our topic is all about economy. So let's hear it. To start, something, कोई अच्छी सी बात करें पहले. So, how do you deal with this? I mean, what is your take on this subject? क्या करना चाहिए और क्या बोलना चाहिए?
First of all, good evening, everyone. And I am very happy that I'm on this panel because we are in for a very invigorating discussion. So when we talk about aesthetics and economy, I feel the first building when I was a student of architecture, which I was going through a lot of architecture work, it was Mr. Laurie Baker's work, which really inspired me, the way he used bricks, which we talk about. He used to make very aesthetic buildings with use of bricks, but it was a low-cost building. So aesthetics and economy, they can work two ways. If you have a project, it's a challenge to fill in aesthetics by keeping in hand that there are certain economical constraints. But also, a project can actually generate a lot of economy. If we take example of museums like Bilbao in Spain, the way it has become an aesthetic marvel, it has generated so much business to that little town in Spain. So aesthetics are definitely something, specifically in the world today, which is so visual. We daily Google, we do Instagram, and anything which catches us visually, we are drawn towards it. So I feel if we took it in two aspects, aesthetics, good aesthetics is not bound that it should be done with expensive material. It can be done creatively, where an architecture or a creative person comes in. And also if aesthetics are done right, or if aesthetic is calling for a reaction, good or bad, it is definitely something that will start a conversation. And it will work in ways or spiral things in such a way that it can work for a project, for an economy, or for a client in a different medium.
Yeah, Gurleen, but the question is, the aesthetics is not truly made to generate economy. ठीक है? वो तो उसका एक by product निकल गया. So when I say that, how do you look at an activity of architecture, जिसमें architecture or aesthetics is something which does not have a byproduct as an economy. Economy जो है वो is something which it has to come back. It has to regenerate itself, and that's the whole idea. Aman, what do you think about it? I mean, how do you do this in your projects, or how do you think that a world's big project or monument can help this?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful panel discussion, first of all. And I completely agree with you, sir. Our aesthetics and economics, they go pretty much hand in hand. And one of the best examples that I can think of is the city of Chandigarh. So if you see the old brick houses designed by Jane Drew, Maxwell Fry, so there the element of brick, let's say, is not just talking about economy. It is nothing less than poetry in bricks. So if there has to be a brick facade to be used as a shading device, it is not only a shading device. It is beyond that. It is play of light and shadow, even if it is precast concrete panels. So that is one part of economics. In our practice, the way we try to do it, which is also something connected to the circular economy, is try and question the waste that we do in our projects. Can the waste generated in a project come back and become something else within the project? So for example, wastes like the tiles that go in waste, or the granites, we try and use it in different formats, try and break it and create some interesting patterns. So that is where, you know, the thing does not go waste and it comes back. So we try and reuse it. So this is one part of it.
Okay, Amrit. So when we speak about form follows function and follows feeling, form follows function follows feeling. क्योंकि हमारा जो पेशा है, it's all about feeling, it's all about emotions. Ultimately, we are generating, as Aman just said, कि वो एक cantilever भी है या एक छज्जा भी है, तो उसके अंदर भी aesthetics है. Which means aesthetics or practical constraints better addresses evocative architecture. So what do you think about evocative architecture in the whole scenario of our debate?
Good evening, everybody. This is a very important statement. Form follows function, follows feeling. Abhi tak to we have only studied form follows function. So what I feel is that as technical consultants, to fulfill the function is a basic necessity. If we don't fulfill that basic qualification of a functional building, we are defying ourselves to becoming good architects. So that's the bottom line, that you have to have a good functional building. That's number one. But aesthetics, I would say, comes above function as well, because aesthetics gives soul to a building. When I'm talking about giving soul to a building, it actually means that the building, which is just a non-living entity in itself, becomes lively. Because when you are adding emotional aspect, which means that you are adding feelings like sadness, feelings like anger, feelings like being happy, in a mood, in a stress-free environment. So that is what gets added when a soul gets added to a building. So actually it starts responding on a humane level. So when your building starts performing at a humane level, visual aesthetics is definitely very important, because it catches your attention. After catching attention, when the building starts interacting with the users, a very common example is the Jewish Museum. So Jewish Museum ने अपना aspect functionally तो चलो पूरा करा ही है, but museums and memorials have a very challenging task of passing on the feelings from the past to the present and to the future as well. We can actually feel the atrocities which happened on the Jews during that time when you visit the Jewish Museum. The way the forms, spaces, color, light, texture, natural lighting, shade, shadow has been used in that kind of building. Similar kind of forms, they actually enhance the entire aspect of the built environment. And that is the reason of evocative architecture. It actually makes you experience the entire space. So when the space becomes experiential, I feel that architects justify evocative architecture, and they have done their job. That's what I have my opinion about.
And Shivansh, just to deviate from the topic, and which is that kind of trend which has caught your eye? I mean, what's the because everybody's talking about aesthetics, so it's okay. Let it flow. Let's talk about aesthetics and beauty to start with. I'll come to the hardcore facts after 2 minutes time. You tell me, what are the latest trends which has caught your eye? I think amongst us, and you are the youngest.
Yes, I am the youngest, I think, on the panel, and I'm very happy to be here. And some trends, I think, for me personally, trends do begin at home. And being raised in Chandigarh and seeing this certain style of architecture that we have grown up with, and we have seen it evolve in a certain way and withstand the stand of time for 60 years, 70 years now, and evolve into something very, very beautiful, at least to me. So that is that. So first and foremost, it begins at home. But I also think that trends do tend to evolve. So they depend on traditions, and every place has their own trend. For example, as ma'am said, Jewish Museum over here. And that Jewish Museum has evolved from a certain cultural atrocity. Certain traditional values have been imparted into that whole building and that whole form. So that is trendy. for me. It is also dependent on training. For example, Frank Lloyd Wright's Walt Disney Museum, right? Frank Gehry's Walt Disney Museum, right? So you cannot evolve that kind of form without a certain amount of training to even achieve the kind of trend that you want to get to. So trends for me are ever, like, they keep passing by, and so those
You
are
mean
the
trends are like fashions which come and go?
absolutely, yes.
And how about the isms? They are here to stay? Modernism, postmodernism, all this stuff. I mean, are they what you're talking about?
So that is, I think, very much dependent on the kind of building that we are designing, and it is dependent on the client. Like, for example, the brief that is given to us. So say I'm designing a museum for somebody, and the client comes to me that they want something postmodern. So no matter how big a modernist I am, my design approach has to be derived from a postmodernist mindset.
ओके ग्रेट यार आजकल बातें हो रही हैं मेटावर्स की आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की कुछ ज़रा हमें भी बताओ यार ओमन ये आप इस्तेमाल करोगे या इज इट समथिंग विच इज़ वी लुक फॉरवर्ड टू दिस इन आर्किटेक्चर ऑल्सो ट्रूथफुली स्पीकिंग आई हैव नो आइडिया so I just got this question just to excite the audience and to tell us यार what is all this.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I am audible. Metaverse, to be very honest, sir, is such a new concept. It's although in its nascent stage right now, so there's a lot of ambiguity around it. I mean, I'm not the expert on this field, but from whatever I've heard, whatever I've seen, read, it is touted as the next big thing. All these big companies like Facebook, Microsoft, Google, they are betting big money on it. And for the uninitiated, Metaverse is basically an alternate sort of online world which is more immersive. We are used to going for Zoom meetings, we are used to attending, socializing on Facebook, which is a very 2D sort of version. You look at the phone or you look at the computer. But with the help of those VR headsets, I think that is what will enable us to access Metaverse. So Metaverse is, if I was to give you an example, this conference, maybe 10 years from now, is happening in Metaverse, where all of us don't have to be here. And we don't have to access a Zoom meeting. We just have this entire structure, which is a digital building, built inside this online world, which all of us can access with a VR headset and participate. We can engage with each other in real time. Like a video game is there, but it has premeditated controls. But in a metaverse, it has so much of cloud storage, it is so fast, that if I am interacting with you like this, you can see my expressions. I mean, it is in real time. You can see how my facial behavior is, my movement is, and you can revert. Okay. So it's a very upcoming trend.
I mean, it's kind of those games which people play by putting on that apparatus, and
it seems like that as of now. Seems like that, but there's too much ambiguity, sir.
नहीं तो हमें क्या फायदा होगा as architects?
So हमारे लिए फ़ायदा भी हो सकता है, हमारे लिए नुकसान भी हो सकता है कल को. फ़ायदा ये है कि when you want to build an auditorium, you need an architect. You need us to design a place like this in metaverse. So that opens up endless opportunities for us. But inside metaverse, if laws of physics and structure is not really required, then why do we even need an architect? Why not a 3D visualizer or a game developer building that entire space, which is where they will be doing our job. And it could be anything.
I think, yes, Shivanshu would say something?
Can I add to that a little bit? Is that not only like wo nuksan, I don't see that as a nuksan, but I mostly see that as an opportunity for us as well. For example, like metaverse is still for the people. Like they'll be still designing for people to be in that space, be it virtually. So I don't think architects will be redundant anytime soon, but in my opinion, but they will be rather even more challenged to design something that is just too wacky. Something even AI cannot generate, for that matter.
Gulin wants to say something?
Just continuing with, because he said AI, so I was going through these AI new application. You just put in the words and it will design the house or interior as per your. And then you have these AI robots. But which makes me think, if you see everything today in terms of cars and all, that design element that a Fiat 500 can generate and invoke an interest in you. And now you see, unless you don't see the logos, you cannot figure out which brand, which car it is. So what my fear is, which Tarun also sort of reciprocated, that we might be going towards technology, but technology might give us the ease of designing so much so that the human factor, which brings that aesthetic, that X factor, like Corbusier coming to Chandigarh, making Chandigarh. If it would have been in metaverse, we would have just picked up anything. But it was Corbusier's vision, it was his design, GNGU's ideas of working with the realities and creating something, which I feel an artificial intelligence cannot do. So there, I feel that we are safe there, as long as we are creative with all the constraints that we are working with. Yet.
Aman wants to say something. ये जरा interesting topic हो गया है. Everybody wants to say something. Go on.
So Gurleen was talking about Corbusier. So I'm just projecting a hypothetical situation. Let's say Corbusier was to come out of his grave and meet us today. You know, he would say, you are in a minuscule state of metaverse already, because we used to draft with hands, and you are using these softwares. For me, this is artificial intelligence. Now, since we are so very comfortable using softwares, rendering softwares, and drafting softwares, we don't realize we are in a minuscule artificial intelligence world. And recently, I heard an example of artificial intelligence that before the Ukraine war, architects decided to use these 3D scanners to document all the traditional street furnitures in Ukraine, so as to preserve them, you know, in terms of documentation. And that is something that happened so beautifully, that post the Ukraine war, so much of damage happened. But now the city has got the entire documentation of all the traditional and the heritage, you know, stuff with them. And I think in terms of time, the consumption of time in documentation of the existing building, you know, is taken care of by artificial intelligence. So the architects can invest more time into designing and generating experiences. So maybe this is...
I think, well done, guys. I mean, very interesting informations. But I think no amount of artificial intelligence or metaverse can create wonders which Corbusier made in Chandigarh. I mean, at that time, we didn't even have AutoCAD, leave about AI. And so the masterpieces which are done here, or the masterpieces done by the masters themselves. So how is all this going to help in creating very grandiose, meaningful architecture? I have my doubts. And Chief साहब यहाँ बैठे हैं of Chandigarh, तो उनके सामने मैं क्या बोलूँ? And अगर Corbusier आज उठ के आ जाते हैं, I don't think he'll be very happy, sir. I mean, he'll say कि जो मेरी buildings के बाद कोई अच्छी building बनी नहीं है वो अन्य शहर में. So let's see how the metaverse and AI is going to help. And Gurleen, sorry, Amrit, you are concentrating on the business component strategies to build your firm, or you are combining something else? आपके strategies क्या हैं in terms of you know running a private practice? I mean, how does it function? Today we are talking about aesthetics versus economy. It's versus economy. It's not the blend of it. So let's go a little further quickly.
So we have a private practice, and thankfully I'm working with my husband.
Well, thankfully, my God, I have an architect wife, and the amount we fight, it's horrible. मतलब मैंने तो अपनी किताब में chapter लिखा हुआ है कि never marry an architect. आगे बोलो.
No, but in my case, behind every successful woman there is a man.
कमाल हो गया.
So I would definitely say yes to that. So हमने अपनी life बहुत easy करी हुई है. लड़ाई तो खैर वो तो by default होनी है, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए. So when two brains work on the same project, fights are going to happen. So one of us surrenders, and it is usually I never surrender. So we
all know that.
So I never surrender on aesthetics. And gradually when we started our practice, so we used to debate. So Satish used to say, okay, let's make two proposals now. So two proposals mean two brains are working, and now we have two options in front of client to confuse them. So till 4-5 years, we used to make two options, and fortunately what used to happen is my option used to get selected. So finally Satish gave up, and then he said, okay, you do the creative part, and I'll handle the business part about it, because he was very good at PR. And client को फंसा के भी तो लाना है ना सर आगे फिर.
Right, surely.
So he used to do the PR part, and I used to do the aesthetic part. And in fact, what used to happen is that when we used to do residences specifically in the beginning, it is a hard-earned money of your entire lifetime. So the decision that you as an architect is taking for them becomes very critical. Aesthetics कहना is very easy, but spending 10,000 rupees on just a sheet of veneer and giving a decision कि नहीं यही veneer लगना है, यही laminate लगना है, becomes very challenging. कई बार तो जवाब देके ना रात को नींद भी नहीं आती थी कि हमने सच में इतने पैसे खर्चवाने हैं क्लाइंट के, या एस्थेटिक्स को छोड़ें और इकोनॉमिक्स को थोड़ा सा प्रायोरिटी पे रखें. But then gradually we felt that if we don't have that visualization of creating materials for, then what are we for?
Yeah, so it has to be a blend of these things
Yes.
where you think of
So
economy.
depending upon the client's budget, because mostly clients, they look forward to architect to give them something new, something creative. And when we have to experiment with materials, you have to be very conscious about the money part also and the aesthetic part also. And most of the times in our practice, we've been fortunate enough that aesthetics has always overboarded the financial part.
Wonderful, Amrit. Aman, let me put in a very hard fact. एक sustainable material है, expensive है, वो मैंने लगाना है अपने project पे. Now the investment is going to be higher than the ultimate outcome. So I pick up that material, I use it in my project. So is that A, a sustainable solution? B, will that give back the cost which I have incurred? So I'm in a dilemma. It's always a problem when we choose sustainable, so-called sustainable products. They are expensive, and similarly, if you have to make a building which is griha building, a lead building, जो हम लोग बात करते हैं, it's 10%, 15% expensive. So ultimately, you give them the papers. भाई आप 5-10 साल में ये आपको pay back करेगा. Tell me about the products and your experience. How will you manage this? How do you balance this? The audience wants to know.
A very interesting question, sir, actually. So this is very interesting, actually. So I have been contemplating on this. And for a very long time, I was of the opinion that anything that you use locally available is cost effective and sustainable. But there was a...
But locally material का बड़ा controversy हो जाती है. Is bricks locally? Is bricks a local material? Nationally, it's a local material. So say something else. कुछ और material की बात कर.
Yeah. I mean, let's say if there's a granite which is coming from down south, or let's say, for instance, we are using an expensive sanitary product.
Right.
Okay. It is an expensive product, let's say.
But sustainable.
Let's say, but we're not open to the sustainable aspect to it. We just look at the cost of that product.
Fine.
But if that sanitary product can help me save a lot of water, say 70% of the water, because of the technology.
So that sustainability is in the saving of water.
Absolutely.
It's an expensive faucet.
It's an expensive faucet.
And it saves water.
But it saves water.
Continue.
Say, for instance, we were doing a project in Srinagar where we were designing a diagnostic center lab. So the context being Srinagar, there was a situation where we were required to develop a technology where an HVAC system has to be installed, where at the same time, part of the spaces were to be in a cooler environment, where the machines were to be kept, and the remainder was to be in a, warmer, this thing. So we came up with a very expensive technology, which is the 3-piping system, where the hot air out of the outdoor unit is channelized back into the system, into the areas which are supposed to be kept warmer. Now, the technology is very expensive. But in the longer run, it suits the function, the context very well. So basically, ruling out a product just because it is expensive is not a great idea. So this is one part of it. Where the technology comes in.
Yeah. I mean, you have you have to choose between the product, its paying back capacity, and the sustainable issues of that. So that's how you bring in a product.
That's right.
So Shivansh, when you talk of iconic buildings, when we architects talk of buildings which are IT buildings, big buildings, a million square feet of production houses. How do you think about the economy in that? What is economical in iconic? Sorry, ये auto the syllabus question आ गया?
नहीं, बिल्कुल भी नहीं. So, first of all, I think we need to redefine iconic की definition. For
iconic की?
Definition.
Definition. Okay.
हाँ.
थोड़ा सा
हाँ जी.
ऊपर करके.
So, iconic for me is just as much as a function of a certain building. So, case in point, war memorials, museums, IT buildings, all those buildings are, as a function of that building, needs to be eye-catching. It needs to attract a certain amount of people to come to that building for it to be sustainable. Like there are 3 or 4 kinds of sustainability. There's environmental sustainability, there's operational sustainability, there's also a sustainability, aesthetical sustainability. So for me, there is more to iconic than just the looks of it. Right? Again, going back to the Jewish Museum, it's an iconic building, but it's a sustainable iconic building. So iconic is not just putting glass and everything, and it's not just material that makes it iconic. Assembly is an iconic building that functions really well. So,
or I can say, particularly in terms of the Jewish Museum, where there is a sentiment involved, where there is a deep-rooted emotion involved.
Absolutely.
That also is a part of sustainability.
Absolutely.
It's not something which can be categorized, which can be rooted down in terms of money.
Absolutely.
But it is a sentimental value. I've seen people go inside the museum and they cry.
Yeah.
Because there is a catastrophe everywhere. There is war. There are dead bodies everywhere. So that that evocation of a heart is, I think, a part of sustainability, which you're talking about. Am I right?
Absolutely. And if the design fails to invoke that emotion, then it is not a good design.
In terms of?
That specific building.
That specific?
Building. That specific context.
Context.
So similarly, now iconic can drive from context to context. Be it, so if you're designing an IT building in Chandigarh, putting a glass block over here or glass building over here is not only not sustainable, it'll not be iconic. It'll be a bad representation. So a US-based company is building a base in Chandigarh to build a glass building that they can do better over there. Is no point of doing it over here.
Right. Gurleen? So you do so many houses, and you do so many beautiful houses. So what is the kind of your collection in terms of this debate which you are doing today, aesthetics versus economics? How do you balance that? What in your term is aesthetics, and how do you weigh the economy of it in your particular architecture or your experience?
Aesthetics, we just don't value aesthetics which are visual aesthetics. Aesthetics can be experiential, a sense of how the light is coming over to a mandir or how the sun comes into the house. How the experience that we are generating in the residence is making that residence not just a normal residence, but an experience where the people who are using it is enriching their lives. So when we talk about aesthetic versus economics for our projects, we see what value the economics are adding. If it's, say, like Aman sir said, that something very expensive, but the value addition is minuscule, then I won't do that. But if it is adding value to the overall experience, then we will scout the best brand or the best product which can add that value to my residential area. Say, for the sake of lighting, if my client wants a certain amount of mood lighting and anything, we will definitely go for sensor lighting. We will definitely go for VRV because we are doing a project, a farmhouse, where the client wants to display their art. Our brief was design my house around my art. And they say we don't want to see anything, any services in the walls or anything. So we design the VRV, floor heating, all these concepts that we are working towards. It is cost intensive, but it is to the further end of making that project more aesthetically and more functionally more elevated. And for that purpose, we do our research. We work how we can work around our spaces, spatial planning, come out with details, how we can conceal something, how can make something more practical but yet pretty. So in that terms, I think we have to do more work as an architect to get something useful, which is more emotionally, more sensory, and which can make the house a space which is not just a residential space, but it's way beyond that.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask Savneet ma'am. She's idol, whom I really admire, and she does mud works, and she does all the buildings out of mud, which is so beautiful. Ma'am, I want to ask you a question. I mean, how do you weigh? The economy of that sustainable the building which you make, aesthetics versus sustainability. How do you manage this? Can you tell us how do you balance this? Because most of your projects are so beautiful. So how do you manage that mud architecture?
So I think firstly, as far as economics is concerned, mud is probably the most economical material around. And it doesn't really add that much to the cost of the building. Also, inherently, it is very beautiful and aesthetical in itself, in its character, in its usage. The challenges there are not aesthetics and economics, because in case of mud buildings and natural materials, these two are so beautifully interlinked. The challenge there is probably more on the structural front, or how we take a greater span or a more high-rise building. So I think with most natural materials, aesthetics is kind of inbuilt. Also,
but ma'am, the aesthetics of a mud building which you make or anybody else makes is very typical. I mean, the end result is what we expect, we know. So where is that architectonics in that? Where is the iconic in that?
So I think there is a lot of change and a lot of spectrum of mud buildings. Probably we've seen only the vernacular here.
That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I misconstrued.
No, I understand, because in India till today, it's mainly the vernacular that has been kind of highlighted as mud buildings. But all over the world, whether it is, all the developed countries are moving back towards rammed earth, cob, adobe, and most of those structures are actually beautiful and very different in each building and each project. That is where the architect's vision or his design abilities and his sensibilities come into play. Here, I think there are so far very few who have ventured into exploring the vast, dimensions that this natural material can open up.
But ma'am, 3 cheers to you and for doing this. I clap for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tarun, so at the end of it, we're completing it. At the end of it, is it a blend of both? Somewhere behind your mind, are you looking at it that it's a blend of aesthetics and economics somewhere? Are we approaching that after half an hour of talks? ऐसा कुछ है जिसके अंदर हम कह सकते हैं कि इसका कोई balance है, कोई मिश्रण है, या इसका कुछ somewhere कोई compromise है?
Sir, obviously, it's supposed to be a balance. It has to be a middle ground at the end of the day. But to build upon what Savneet ma'am said and what we've just discussed, it is not necessary that we have to aim for iconic every time. It is also what is pleasing to the eye, what is already there, what has been there for centuries, and just in plain eyesight, you just tend to ignore it because it's there. But it's still beautiful. So when I was working, my first job was in Bangalore, and my boss told me, he said, you should identify a set of materials that you really like. And it's not necessary that you can't change your materials. Obviously, you evolve. But if you choose an aesthetic which is simple, which is elegant, which appeals to you, that is something which is simple, which is elegant and timeless. And I really go by that logic. I think that is what I would say. Aesthetics and economics. Economics are very important because it does not, earth architecture, like ma'am is, India, earth architecture, earth building is something which has been there for centuries. It is beautiful. But we, the construction lobby or whatever it is, but we tend to choose the Western ideology more. I think
I think it all depends on the project to project, and I think if we tell ma'am to make an IT building, उसमें भी बना देंगी.
I think it's a beautiful thing.
So, it all depends on the ideology of the client we work for. Amar, you want to say something? I'm going to ask Mr. Sethia साहब कहाँ गए? Sethia साहब चले गए? अच्छा चलो.
Hello. Yeah, I kind of did this simulation for myself between aesthetics and economics. This is in extension to Savneet ma'am's mud architecture that she does so beautifully, and the example that Tarun gave. You know what I was thinking, that I read somewhere that an architecture has to evoke memory and fantasy at the same time.
Very nice.
If it does only one,
Memory and fantasy.
memory and fantasy at the same time. And this also is an extension to other disciplines of art. But architecture's objective is primarily to evoke memory and fantasy at the same time. So I was just thinking that I can choose to write a poem in Hindi or Punjabi or English and touch a soul. Or I can choose to say something very mediocre in Chinese, which might also amaze somebody, but it can be something very stupid. So, as an extension to this thought, if I talk about the genre museum in Sector 5, if you go on the first floor, there's an eye window, and the wall is made out of regular materials.
Yes.
But what that space does to you through that eye window, it almost feels that you are inside the window, inside the eye of the building, and then you're looking out.
Surely.
So then it does something beyond, just looking outside. That is something which Savneet ma'am does beautifully. It is not just mud. Then the way you mold mud in a way, then it can evoke certain senses. So it is like writing a poem in Hindi and touching you.
I know. I'm going to ask Mr. Sethia one question, sir. Mic to the Chief Architect, please. Amongst us, we have Mr. Sethia, the Chief Architect of Chandigarh. Sir, my question is, before you get the mic, we're talking of aesthetics versus economics, and concrete is expensive. Now, we in Chandigarh, sir, we have to make at least the public buildings in concrete and bricks, and we are very proud of it. I mean, we all follow this legacy. Sir, where do we then consider economy in terms of the vocabulary of Chandigarh architecture, where concrete ki building to banani hai, sir? So how do you, sir, as our chief architect, sir, tell us, how do we balance that? How do you balance it, sir? Because we are imposed to the concrete even today.
Thank you very much. I think we have all experienced it when Corbusier started working with concrete in India.
Yes, sir.
The way he made sculpturous buildings and the way the expression made, and the monumentality he wanted in those important buildings on the capital, the expression really needed that kind of a material. And he really played it to an extent. Now we have much more choices of materials in that sense. But our other idea is to bring order in the whole streetscape or the urban design. And if we use concrete, the economy in the long term is not bad. It's exposed concrete. But the other materials, I don't think so, will last 7-8 decades the way we have done. And even as an insulating situation or the interiors, it gives quite a bit of impact in that sense. Of course, now we are not able to produce that level of concrete. We are facing a big challenge in that sense, the shuttering concrete, which they could produce in 50s when technology was not there. The kind of tendering and the kind of execution teams we have, there are a lot of challenges in it. So we are also exploring other options close to the new materials the next gen is proposing.
But sir, thank you, sir, for the answer. But sir, where a concrete is required in Chandigarh, particularly in Chandigarh, talking about, sir, वहाँ पे तो concrete use होगा. So can we replace the concrete with other materials? Will you allow this, sir? I mean, in terms, if I say that the concrete is expensive, will you allow this? Mike, please.
Yeah, I think we have now only maintained the architectural control on the first phase only. Primarily, we don't emphasize much in the new, we're getting into the zoning formats, and that allows us to give more flexibility in terms of usage of materials. The framed controls, the architectural controls, which we used to do it in terms of bringing order in the street, is more or less in the first phase where not much is left to build. In that order we try, but of course there's a heritage committee which looks into allowing new materials and the aspects of that.
But sir, कितनी sad है ना statement. आप कह रहे हैं कि जो 50s में concrete की finish थी, आज नहीं मिलती with all the technology around us.
That's very true.
It's very sad, sir.
Very sad.
I mean, what is lacking, sir? The masons, the people who made it, or the materials?
The intent.
इसके ऊपर तो ताड़ी बजनी चाहिए. It's the political will which makes grand architecture, and it's the intent which makes a person work. So वो दोनों ही missing है जी. I wish you get back. Thank you, sir. And guys, you were fantastic. And anything else anybody wants to say? I mean, I think we have made things very clear that ultimately it's a balance. Ultimately, it's something which is of a personal choice. And you people are the next generation, as Bibor calls you. I'm of the old generation. So I'm holding you all, and I wish you all the best. And I think we have, put in a point that architecture and economy, they go hand in hand. And how do you balance it? It's all. I think it's the best part of our profession, that we have choices like that. We are not bound by that. And so we are grateful to our course and our profession that we can be so liberal with things around us. Thank you very much, each one of you. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, for this. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so you might have a great session, right or wrong? Yes or no? All right. So, yeah. So now, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you so much for this great discussion we are having over here. And moving on the Q&A session, we are open this forum to the audience as well. So you may ask any of the question if you want to ask, and please go for it, everyone. So you may raise your hand if you do have any query, anything you want to ask to these amazing, yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, thank you so much. All right. And now with this, we would like to acknowledge these amazing personalities over here, and we would like to give the token of honor as well. So for this, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Ganesh Prabhuji to please be on stage from Hefel, India, and Sabrish Nair, Regional Sales Manager, Northeast, and Deconic Kuchi 7, Vishal Verma, to please kindly come and join us over this stage. So now it's time to do the felicitation ceremony, and I would request Mr. Sangeet Sharma to please come forward to receive this honor. Our curator and moderator, yes, Mr. Sangeet Sharma. Panelist over here, Sukumar. So next we have is Amit Panwar. Can we have a big round of applause for the principal architect and founding partner, Architecture Anew. And the next we have is the founder and design principal, Pneumotive Design Studio, Gurleen Kaur. And for the next one, I would like to invite to please come forward our architect, partner, and designer SD Sharma and associate Shivansh Sharma. Can we have a big round of applause, everyone? And also we have the architect studio, Mohenjo-daro, Tarunpreet Singh Bhatia. Can we have a big round of applause? Thank you so much, everyone. And now let's have a group photograph all together. And for this great discussion we have over here. Thank you so much, sir. You may have your seats now. Thank you, sir and ma'am. Now for the much awaited Doyen's panel discussion, one of we all have been waiting for, and with bated breaths. And spearheading, it is none other than the fantastic AR Sangeet Sharma. Can we have you on stage once again, sir? Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Sangeet Sharma? And to invite our panelists and kick off this debate. All right, over to you.
It's a big responsibility. to hold the show, and I was with very dynamic, brilliant young minds. No, I'm going to be with the, Vibhor calls it Dons, but I call them Dons. क्योंकि ये सारे जो हैं वो हमारे seniors रहे हैं और and they are the people whom we have seen them work. It's going to be a different take altogether, friends, and as an audience which you have just seen, how the young people are, proactive, and how they take every project very, very effectively. This panel of Dons have been there, done that. That means that they have enough experience, and they're going to share their talk of their projects, how they have actually done it in terms of maintaining the theme and maintaining the sustainability. So it's going to be very, very fantastic. And may I invite Mr. Sundar Baga on the stage. He's one of the Dons of the city. And sir, a round of applause, friends. Been in, as a part of the MC of Chandigarh. He's been the counselor. He's been the chairman of IIA of this chapter various times. He's in the advisory capacity in the council. Baga sir is an author of various books, and he lectures abroad and in India. He's a much sought after person of the city. May I also now invite on the stage Renu Khanna. She's everybody's an award-winning architect here. So mera emphasize karna ki somebody's an award-winning is something to underplace. All these people are highly awarded, and so is Renu Khanna. She's running her practice since many years. Now her two sons have joined in, and they're doing a lot of projects of multiple government interest, particularly in Punjab. She's going to say something about that also. May I invite Mr. Bachitra Singh on the stage, please. A person very highly respected in profession, who has done multiple projects, particularly in terms of hospitality. The few of them which I know, but I'm sure he's going to say this himself. Which is the other person Mr. Sukumar. May I invite him on the stage. A dynamic person. इनका भी वो जो औदा है वो next gen or Doin से है, and he's there. But I consider him Doin because of his multiple practice which he has, which is doing projects of many nature. So we are, and I like to call Mr. Somen. Somen is here. Somen, hi Somen. Come in, Somen. Somen is from the industry, and it is because of him we have all the bright lights in this hall and everywhere. So this is what makes my team. And as I said, that what we have had the discussion with all my young friends was different. What I'm going to ask them is going to be very different. Keep your ears open, because they are the people who are going to tell how they have done it. In your stature, sir, I mean, how are you trying to tackle the city's aesthetics, or is there some kind of an aesthetics which in your mind can be altered in the city, sir? I mean, जिस शहर में आप practice कर रहे हैं, इस शहर में आप इतने साल बिताए हैं, इसकी aesthetics is on constant line, या आपके mind में कुछ चल रहा है?
Regarding city's aesthetics, I feel that concrete is getting deteriorated in a very big way, and after 60, 70 years, concrete has gone really very bad. I was reading one article in which it was mentioned that concrete has failed, exposed brickwork has failed finally in Indian climate, and hence thereby, the new claddings have emerged in the market. So this is one big change. I think city needs to, Setia Saab is here somewhere. So I think this needs to be reviewed in the present context, because these materials are not able to sustain the climatic conditions of North India. Thank you.
Sir, okay, this was just a raise the curtain raiser which I wanted to start, sir. You're planning so many buildings of religion. You are making so many gurdwaras and so many churches you have done, and you are very famous for making those making those sustainable buildings. So what is your take of aesthetics in this particular genre? It's not, ये ordinary तो है नहीं जी. हर कोई बंदे को इस तरह के जो projects मिलते नहीं हैं जी. And you have been doing so many buildings of which are in the order of religion. तो उसमें कैसे सर आप aesthetics को involve करते हैं? या borrow करते हैं? या अपना कुछ मिश्रण करते हैं? How do you manage that, sir? I'm asking you a very difficult question, so sorry.
I am very blessed that I got opportunity to design buildings for all religions. I did 4 or 5 churches of different sects of Christianity. I designed temples, I designed gurdwaras, and lately I got a chance to design one dargah again near Chandigarh. So each sect, each religion got its own requirements. So you have to fulfill the aspirations of the devotees in each case. So which is slightly difficult, and the budget always remains a constraint. So, but we were able to do it.
सर इसमें एस्थेटिक्स का जो इम्प्रेशन है वो एक बोरोड एस्थेटिक्स होती है या यू हैव द लिबर्टी टू डू योर काइंड ऑफ एस्थेटिक्स अरेंजमेंट सर? मैं वैसे पूछ रहा हूँ जी, जस्ट आस्किंग सर, आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी, क्योंकि मैंने बहुत बड़े कम किए हैं इस तरह के काम.
I think the essence remains the same, but we have to follow the contemporary idioms. So that is the main funda. Because in today, if I am making a temple in concrete or in brick, it cannot be same as we have seen in Khajuraho temples. So naturally the materials is different, costing is different, situation is different, and more so setback थोड़ा plus minus हो गया तो सेठिया साहब छोड़ते नहीं हैं, बोलते ये तो पास नहीं होगा यहाँ से. So we have to work in different conditions.
ठीक है जी. अच्छा रेनो, चलो आगे चलते हैं, थीम की बात करते हैं. What do you think art and business can, do you think art and business can come together? हमारी थीम इसी वो मुद्दे पे हो रही है, you know, we're talking of art. So where do you blend them both, or do you blend them both? Because your projects are of a very high order government monumental buildings. So how do you balance this?
So I'm into architecture of happiness, and in the pursuit of creating blissful environment for my end users, my effort has always been to create spaces which connect the physical body to the subtle body. And art is something which connects you to yourself immediately. As art makes one transcend to a deeper emotion experience and taking the end user from the lowermost space, that is a Bhutakasha, to the Chidakasha, which is the highest state or the consciousness. And art, which is embedded in architecture, doesn't affect its economics. Rather, it adds more value to it. For example, if you're laying bricks, you can just put them simply, or you can put them in a jali fashion, which I did in Atari border Shahi Killa, and it came out pretty well. So there was this LIG housing also, which I did for Housing Board Haryana, where we created nice elevations in 325 square feet house. The fact is that the same house which we gave them for 80,000 rupees are now being sold at 80 lakhs. So, I mean, the value has increased. Also, like you talked about the war memorial, which I'm doing, and I think Amrit also talked about it. So in war memorial, the one Chappar Chidi that you have seen, I tried to create the landscape of 300 years back, which defined the war strategy, which was the winning war strategy. So I created an experiential architecture over there. Presently, what I'm doing is 1857 War Memorial at Ambala, where this site was being used as a dumping ground for 150 years. So when we visited and we realized that we had to dig out 4 meters of the garbage on this earth, so we decided to propose a water body, and this water body would also enhance the memorial of lotus in it and with its reflection in the water. So presently, I'm also doing a convention cum auditorium, a cultural center at Prayagraj. So you know, Prayagraj is all about Kumbh ka Mela, and Kumbh is like a kalash. So I'm making the building like a kalash. And even in the interiors, the auditorium walls, वैसे भी तो उसमें कुछ तो करना ही था in the acoustics. So we've created river patterns of, Ganga we've depicted with blue color, Yamuna with black color, and Saraswati with the cove lighting. So I've tried to, bring art and architecture always in all my projects.
Good, Renu. वैसे फाउल है, पर्चियां बना के लाए हो आप?
नहीं. Points. किस को बोलना है?
ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं.
Yeah.
Amrita sir, over to you, sir. Sir, tell us, and which is the quality in aesthetics which needs to be preserved? हम लोग सारी बात कर रहे हैं, रेनू कुछ और बात कर रही है अपनी अपडेटेशन की, बाकी सारी is talking about the quality of the religion. Sir, आपके mind में कौन सी एक value है aesthetics की जो preserve करने लायक है, जो महत्वपूर्ण है? What do you think, in your opinion, sir, is the most important value of aesthetics, sir? Why should we preserve aesthetics, sir?
See, architecture is frozen music. The most important function of architecture is to give delight to soul and mind. Actually, when I do my buildings, I do not know whether I'm working towards creating a beautiful building or not. I begin to draw my lines as to what that building has to do for the intended use, for the users. And slowly the whole process, the way I approach my design process, with the honesty of its intent and purpose, it begins to evolve. And finally, the forms, the design, the sketch, the preliminary schemes, they begin to tell me that, do this here, do that there, a window here, a wall there, a void here, and, it begins to evolve itself. So your question that the role of aesthetics in architecture is very, very fundamental. When I believe that when I meets the proportion of the music of proportion, architecture is born. So when you do a building, you have to basically balance the, mass and void, shade and substance, and the things begin to evolve themselves. And that is how it happens. So aesthetics is something which automatically evolve.
Yes,
and
sir.
it's like, it's like music to soul.
Surely, sir. So, sir, Mansukh Kumar, so is there a conflict of interest happening? मतलब क्या हम इस चीज़ से deviate कर रहे हैं? I mean, we all are talking of the superiority of the aesthetical value in architecture. हम लोग बात करना चाहते हैं aesthetics versus economy की. कुछ conflict हो रहा है क्या? जरा हमें बताएं जरा, सर माइक आगे दो.
So, hello everybody. First of all, I would like to clarify that I'm no doyen here. Don't go by the color of my hair. I'm at least 15, 20 years younger than the august people who are sitting around me.
That does not mean we are old, okay? We are also equally young.
Yeah, okay. So what I would want to say here is, of course, I am learning and I'm no judge or no authority. But what I would want to say is that as architects, we don't only design buildings, we design environments. Building is an environment. So to be doing truly inclusive environments, we don't want buildings we don't want the new buildings to stand out, and say that the older buildings or the buildings which were, done earlier, they are staking out like sore thumbs. We need to do the new buildings in a way that are basically creating a harmony. What we as architects do is, in our vanities and in our, will to basically highlight our work and, put our thoughts on the planet, we want to do buildings which are outstanding, which are landmarks. What I want to say here is that all this has been done, and all the master architects who have been known for their work, they have been known because they made certain trends, whether it was an exercise in proportion or whether it was an exercise in scale or materials or something. But we need to now be doing buildings which are not looking good on day one only, which besides looking good on day one, they should have a plan to be looking good in the next 50 years. So that is something which should be concerning us.
Yes, Kumar, I think the previous buildings of the masters, they look good even after 50 years.
Yeah, but they are.
So where is the lack? I'm talking about that missing link जिसकी आप बात करना चाह रहे हो, जो आप बता नहीं पा रहे, आप बताओ.
Yeah. So what I want to say is that basically it is for us to create value.
Yes.
It is not only about aesthetics and economy.
Correct.
It is about value. So if we are using something which is not economical to create value for a client, I think we are doing our jobs well.
That's
We
right.
should not be casting ourselves in brackets and saying that something is economical or something is not economical. If we do sustainable buildings like was being discussed by the previous panelists, we are doing a service by being economical in the long run. So the capex may not be as high as the opex, or the opex may not be as high as the capex. It is a balance which we need to strike, and that is where our skill and our judgment comes in. So both these things are mutually inclusive. They are not exclusive of each other. So there is no conflict.
Perfect, super. Bachita sir, तो कितना ध्यान करते हैं हम लोग आजकल? I mean, अगर एक hospitality का project है, are we actually giving weightage to the economy of the project? Are we trying to think in those terms? Sustainable economy, aesthetics, ये तीनों words आज confuse हो रहे हैं सर. थोड़ा हमें जरा बता दीजिए इसको जल्दी ताकि हम इसको एक लाइन में लेके आएं सर. How much value are we giving to economics? The whole theme is about aesthetics versus economy. तो सर particularly in a hospitality project मैं उसको कैसे balance करता हूँ?
देखिए, in a hospitality project, the luxury, the delight to the eye is very, very important. When a guest enters a hotel lobby, he has to be offered a very, very, enriching, very delightful atmosphere. So there we have to choose materials which are, rich. And as far as you talk about the sustainability, well, can use materials which are sustainable. Like we were talking about the circular economy, that we use materials, which are recycled there in the project itself. The sustainability comes if we recycle our waste, we recycle our grey water into the flushing systems.
Excellent,
that is the sustainability component.
So you are not compromising on the visual aesthetics. We are giving back by rainwater harvesting.
It's a closed loop. The material which come inside my site gets absorbed there and get recycled in one way or the other.
So using technology for sustainability, sir.
Yes, so technology for sustainability. And as far as the demands of the hospitality projects are concerned, there is an intrinsic demand of a particular type of project, typology of a project. Like in the hospitality, we have to have a restaurant, which is very appealing, which has a theme, which should be very delightful. People should feel very nice. They want to go there to see and to be seen. So, all that is important there.
Perfect, sir.
As far as the guest rooms are concerned, there are areas which are public areas. They have to be more plush, more, aesthetically rich. Whereas the bedrooms, rooms where they can be, opulent. They cannot be flashy. They can be done with, muted colors.
Perfect, sir. Perfect, sir. I think very well said. Someone want to hear from you. You are a man from industry, so can you tell us the technology? What sir is talking about? What Bhagat sir was talking about? So how are you going to offer us the wide range of technology and the sustainability vis-a-vis the cost? Can you tell us?
Coming from the industry, this is a everyday, challenge for people like us. We talked about in the previous channel about it is not about the
Mic pass karna hai.
product aesthetics, but you also need to have something called experiential aesthetics.
Sorry?
There, experiential aesthetics.
Okay.
There where the technology comes into play. You know, for example, we are talking about hospitality projects where we can give the experiential aesthetic, this thing. We can give into the guest room. We can give into the welcoming address when you are entering into a hospitality projects. Or for example, if I talk about a stadium per se, beyond the functional lighting which is required for playing of the players, are we giving enough experiential aesthetics for the fan experiences? So technology can come and provide those experiential experiences to the people. It is not all about product aesthetics. And now there are technology, at least in my industry, where we get all these experiences.
But the question is that when I, as an architect, need an experience, someone, I'm not going to go into the economy of yours.
Yes.
If I need 4 or 5 chandeliers here because they are offering me the delight of the banquet hall, so how are you going to compensate to me as an architect, as the user, the economy of it? I mean, or you will say, no, this component is not, it doesn't fall in the fact of economy. It's expensive, it is expensive.
No,
or you have given me choices, or you have choices.
No, we sometimes give choices. Sometimes it is in some of the application in lighting. I think experiences plays a very important role. For example, the hospitality industry. Now people are also talking about experiences in the office and office segment also, where people are talking about health and well-being of the people, because that in an indirect way increases the productivity and efficiency of the people. In that way, that is experiential. Because in that way, the economics also, because if you have a very productive office or office lighting done in a very productive way, the employees will perform to the greatest potential. So you have less, wastage of manpower. In that way, the organization also get the economics out of it.
You want to say something?
So if it enhances the value of that space, so your client will get more, visitors. And I think that would...
Yes. I think a project which generates economy is also a part of the process. I'll ask Bhagat sir this question. Bhagat sir, have you any projects where you had economy as a constraint? Aapka koi experience hai where you were actually, give us an example where economy became a big constraint and it hampered your growth?
It happens in many of our projects. I was doing one temple in a remote area of Himachal Pradesh. There was no shuttering available. So हमने वहाँ पे जो एक पास में मंदिर था, उसमें जो घी के टिन थे, उनको काट के मैंने सारे मंदिर की शटरिंग करवाई थी, because there was no funds for that. And in one of our interiors in Jalandhar, there were shortage of funds. हमने पूरी की पूरी सीलिंग बियर की एम्प्टी बॉटल्स से करी, पूरी सीलिंग.
Okay. Sukumar, in your practice particularly, as I see, तो iconic buildings जो बनती हैं या बनाना चाहते हो, for example, तो उसमें हम लोग what is our value addition? I mean, what value addition you want to do as an architect in your practice?
Yes, sir. So what I would want to say,
you have talked about aesthetics,
yes,
you have talked about economics, you have talked about sustainability. बस अब उसकी बात नहीं करेंगे, बाकी बात करो.
Yeah. So जो आइकॉनिक बिल्डिंग बनाने का जो ये मिसनोमर है कि आइकॉनिक बिल्डिंग वही है जो बहुत बड़ी ग्रैंड लगे और एवोकेटिव हो, आई थिंक दैट इज़ अ मिसनोमर. आइकॉनिक बिल्डिंग सिर्फ वही नहीं होती जो बहुत बड़ी होती हैं और आपको ऑ इंस्पायरिंग लगती हैं, सिर्फ वही आइकॉनिक बिल्डिंग्स नहीं होती. I will want to put a small case in point. I have a small house in the hills and I travel there very often. So when I started building that house, the road from Chandigarh to Shimla was as it was earlier. और उसके आसपास बहुत छोटे छोटे बड़े friendly looking structures थे and I used to enjoy my drive. अब क्या है कि वो हाईवे बहुत चौड़ा हो गया है और उसके आसपास बहुत सी so called iconic buildings बन गई हैं और वो iconic buildings मुझे बहुत disturbing लगती हैं. I have made my house, basically as an earth sheltered space, ताकि वो दिखे ही ना, और मुझे वो सबसे ज़्यादा आइकॉनिक जगह लगती है जो अपनी लोकेल, अपनी क्लाइमेटोलॉजी, अपनी सेटिंग के अंदर अच्छे से सेट हो जाए, वो आइकॉनिक बिल्डिंग ही है. सो आइकॉनिक बिल्डिंग के अंदर मेरा ये थोड़ा सा, ऑफ कोर्स आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि बड़ी और ग्रैंड बिल्डिंग्स आइकॉनिक नहीं होती, बट आइकॉनिक बिल्डिंग्स शुड नॉट बी लिमिटेड टू दैट डेफिनेशन. Evocating.
I totally agree with you, Sukumar. I think one small house by Laurie Baker is equally iconic.
Yes, sir.
Than the huge, magnificent structures we see in Dubai.
Yes, sir.
So I think ultimately it is one which captures your thought, your conscious, and
yes,
holds your eye. That becomes iconic. Yes. This is what I also feel with you.
Yes. Yes.
So and Renu, I think let's talk of the city. City की बात करते हैं. आप लोग तो सब doyens हैं. So what is that which in the city needs to be preserved, or you want to say something about the architecture of the city? Where it is now is not the answer. Where it is going is the answer.
So,
ध्यान से बोलना, चीफ साहब बैठे हैं, नक्शे पास नहीं होने, गलत बोल गया था. अरे बोलो.
मैं चंडीगढ़ में नक्शे पास देती नहीं हूँ. So initially when I started my practice, I got some work in Chandigarh, and that person tells me कि आपने क्या करना है जी, आर्किटेक्ट ने क्या करना है, एक्सटीरियर तो सारा बना हुआ है, तो आपने तो सब इंटीरियर ही करना है. So I said what the hell. कह रहे नक्शे तो पास ही हैं, आपने नक्शे भी नहीं बनाने, तो आपने करना क्या है.
Right.
Then I decided that you're like stifling the architects over here. But of course, the town planning has been very good. Even now, with so much of traffic, we still, wherever we go, anybody who comes from Delhi and he'll ask कि वो जगह कहाँ पे है, I tell him 15 minutes. वो जगह कहाँ है, मैं फिर बोलती हूँ 15 minutes. कह रहे आप क्या बात कर रहे हो, यहाँ पे हर चीज़ 15 minutes पे ही होती है. मैंने कहा हाँ, that's maybe because of the gridiron pattern and also the wide roads. So, and I think, Corbusier did a good job. But when I studied about Harappan civilization, there too we had the same, gridiron pattern. Streets were laid at 90 degree, right? And there were houses, two-story houses, which were built, rooms around a courtyard, which was like climatically very good. It would create a microclimate. And the material used was sun-dried bricks. So even now we are using sun-dried bricks. And I think that suits the climate, so why not? So and going in future, if you're pointing towards IT park, are you?
Sort of.
Yeah, matlab, some change is required. I don't feel that every building has to, I mean, you don't have to stifle the creativity of an architect.
See, I was talking to somebody, there was a very eminent architect from Bangalore, sir, who was here in the morning. And जिस sustainability की बात हम लोग आज करते हैं, whether it is Griha, LEED, green, all the stuff, वो sustainability यहाँ पे 60 साल पहले applicable हो चुकी है.
Absolutely.
If you see the Sector 19 Museum, Le Corbusier Center, the first building ever made in the city is an epitome of sustainability. उसकी craft, उसकी construction technology, उसके materials, उसके doors की finish की jute, flooring, ventilation system is class apart. जो आज की technology भी आज भी वो चीज़ हमें comfort नहीं दे सकती जो उस time की चीज़ है. So I think we in this city are very privileged क्योंकि हमें तो वो live laboratory मिली हुई है यहाँ पे. हम रहते हैं वहाँ पे. And I think this is something very important. बिचित्र सर तुझे कुछ?
It's not only, even this Harappan civilization was 5,500 years back.
Oh, that's okay. We have not seen that. So इसलिए मैं उसके बारे में ज़्यादा बात नहीं कर सकता मैं.
I've studied about them.
You studied that, of course. But I'm saying in Chandigarh we are living sustainability. Sir, बोलेंगे.
Sir, मैं एक बात कहना चाहता हूँ कि I have been very lucky to have studied architecture in Chandigarh. The entire city, all the boundary walls, wherever we saw, it was an open book. And the learning outdoors was more than the indoors. I still feel very strong. Baga sahab कह रहे थे कि concrete, the experimentation of materiality in concrete and brick has failed. I beg to differ. These buildings which we now feel that the concrete is now, showing the signs of aging, I would say. They were built some 70 years ago, 60 years ago. Concrete and brick is still a material for eternity. Of course, we need to restore them. We have to, restore these buildings. Even in Europe, I have seen they are restoring and cleaning their stone structures, churches, and all those, big monumental buildings. I remember on the Madhya Marg, there were some bus stops, with some modern materials, which came and went like that. It was, their presence was like a fleeting, memory. So, but our old bus stands, which were built with brick and ashlar, they still are there. So it is very, very painful for, for us people to, one sec, to see these buildings coming up. When we approach Chandigarh from Delhi, you see buildings like Hotel Turquoise and all, they are like, all these buildings are, when we compare them in terms of materiality vis-a-vis concrete and brick, I do not say that we should not begin to modernize or interpret those things in modern idiom. But these buildings, I still feel like as if they are crying for attention. There is entity crisis. Look, I am here. They are desperate. But our old buildings, you see, Secretariat, Assembly Hall, museums, colleges, university buildings, they are also peaceful, they are calm, and they are still inspiring edifices of architecture.
Yes, sir. No, sir. When Baga was saying this, he was talking in terms of those buildings of religion where concrete was expensive. So I don't think, as a person who is the doyen of Chandigarh can speak this. I think he was referring to the religious architecture buildings where you said that concrete was not applicable there. Sir, tell us about the city, sir. And you are you're always advocating, and you've written so many books. You're writing the third book also. So, sir, are you at par with the city's growth? चलो हम इसी की बात करते हैं सर. As the thing is going on, so are you okay with the growth of the city, sir? Or are you putting something extra in your third book? What is the relation, or what is the politics of architecture, sir? Can you relate all this?
When you see any book on architecture, whether it's by Doshi, it's by Kanvende or by anybody, तो उसमें एक चीज़ देखने को मिलती है कि वो इतने बड़े-बड़े projects हैं, इतने prestigious projects हैं, जो हम लोगों को normally देखने को नहीं मिलते. So, I was studying that जो masses हैं, जो common architects हैं in smaller towns, how will they learn architecture? How will they understand architecture? Because by seeing Doshi's books or Kanvende's books, neither you get that kind of a project, nor you get that kind of a construction agency, nor you have that kind of a budget. So I was working on a book from the last 10 years, and I tried to explain that the book is titled Form Follows Roots. This is my new book's name.
Form borrows roots.
Roots. And
rules ke roots?
Roots. So it will be featuring small projects, built in small towns, but comparatively they are, in my way of thinking, they are, good pieces of architecture.
And they will be all India or world over, or
all India, all India.
And so my next question was, what is the politics of architecture?
I think politics is the mother of architecture, I would say, because no parliament can happen without political patronage. No, this Anandpur Sahib, what is the name of the project? Khalsa Heritage Complex. It cannot be built without the patronage of Badal Sahib. Without Jange-e-Azadi cannot be built without political patronage, and The old Parliament of Delhi was also built with a political patronage. I got a letter from one South Indian girl, professor. She says, sir, I am writing my PhD thesis on political patronage to architecture. So she said, since you know a bit of it, you kindly share some of your thoughts. So I wrote a page, 2 pages, and sent to her. Nowhere in the world good architecture has happened without political patronage.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It has been since times immemorial. जब वो किंग्स होते थे तो आर्किटेक्चर सारा वहीं फ्लरिश होता था, पैलेसेस बनते थे, म्यूजियम्स बनते थे. तो ये तो दिस हैज बीन हैपनिंग ऑलवेज बिकॉज वेयर एवर देयर इज अ रिसोर्स, resource is very important for construction activity. So it has always been happening. Today we have different type of politics. That time we had different type of rulers.
So when we say politics,
Sangeet, Shilpa ma'am wants to say something.
Shilpa wants to say something. She always wants to say something.
Chandigarh is also product of political patronage.
Chandigarh was built due to political patronage, and it is struggling today because political patronage missing it.
Surely. I mean, सिर्फ ये बोलना था आपने.
Sir, this is very interesting and very thought-provoking.
सर ये हमें पता है. कुछ और बोलना?
नहीं तो I think we need more answers.
Surely, sir. Sir, let's talk of Vista. It's the outcome of a biggest political patronage. I mean, I'm picking up wrong things, but then if we're talking of that, and it's designed in 6 months, built in 15 months, and it's there to see. Vibhor, I mean, it's something. It's the fastest.
Actually thinking we are talking so much of iconic, and like he also said ki choti bhi hai, badi bhi hai. Nobody is addressing the pink elephant in the room or the white elephant, whatever. Ki we have a new parliament. Is it iconic?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Surely,
many
sir.
architects here.
Ma'am, इसके बड़े versions हैं जी. People are, because it's just begun, so that there are a lot of people talk pro and con of the whole thing. A lot of people feel I'm unnecessarily getting more sensitive in the forum, but I must say this as a moderator. A lot of people feel, ma'am, that if you see Assembly of Chandigarh, you see Assembly of Louis Khan in Bangladesh, or any such parliament buildings abroad, this could have been the word which you just used, iconic. It could have been more eye-catching. It could have been more in those terms. Lutyens could make a building 100 years ago, which today is an emblem of the city. But आज के architect ने, I'm not saying that. It's just people's opinion. It could be something exponentially big. It could be something which is more dynamic in terms of architecture.
So yeah, that
Anybody wants to say something?
Political patronage.
So just to labor on this,
yes, sir.
What is stopping us?
What was stopping him? I should ask him, the architect. I mean, everybody says if this project was given to, say, Mr. Raj Riwal or Mr. Doshi if he was alive, or to Zaha Hadid or any such people, the outcome could have been very elaborate.
Maybe to Renu Khanna also.
Renu Khanna, yes, of course.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
And why not Bhaga Sahab?
So there is no dearth of good people.
No, sir. We are not talking about the capability of Bimal as an architect. He's a very dear friend and a very good architect.
All of us,
and to do this in that 3-4 months is something very, very, great.
But that's also the leap of technology in construction and the way the projects, the timelines, and 100 other things.
Sir, again, as Mr. Bhaga says, the politics of architecture was involved. It was meant to finish in 14 months. So you couldn't do something which was very elaborate in terms of technology.
Sangeet, we finished Baba Banda Singh Bahadur Memorial in 11 months' time.
Good.
And
Bhaga साहब ये कह रहे हैं ना कि रेणु खन्ना को काम मिल जाता तो शायद अच्छा होता.
Another building which we did in Maltipatpur bus terminus in Odisha, we finished that in 9 months' time because वहाँ पर वो नवखली बार शुरू होने वाला था. So the brief was कि उसके शुरू होने से पहले we must complete the building, and we completed it.
Wonderful.
We from the organization was part of this mega project. We are fortunate to do some portion of it. technology has been used to a great extent in that project. From the point of view, I can understand our industry, from the lighting industry, and there is also a lot of emphasis being given on the aesthetics of it. You know, the way the interiors has been decorated and other things, the best of the best staff has been selected. I think the time is well maintained. The execution also got very well timed way. So we can see a mix of both in the present scenario. It is not only the technology part which brings in aesthetics, but also the best of the best class in products which has been used there.
By the way, for the youngsters, do you know what's the architect's fee of the Vista? 130 crores.
I read it in an article.
It's 250 crores. The fee of the architect, ma'am, is 250 crore. हमारी बिल्डिंगों की वैल्यू होती है 2 crore, 10 crore, 20 crore. That's like architect's fees. Economics and aesthetics. हाँ जी. हम उसमें नहीं घुसेंगे. I'm getting into more, those things. But the end result of the whole discussion is that it's
250 people, architects worked all through the currency of the project.
Yes.
That is also important.
No, sir. Obviously, he employed 200 people. To make working drawings of those things is not easy. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, we should give the devil its due, and it's always the same. Yeah. No, as Mr. Baga says that it's all political will. Nehru ke mind mein ye na aata, to Chandigarh hota hi na. So it's all a political will. Mitterrand, the Prime Minister of France, he made the new Paris. And if you go to the old Paris, it's all heritage. You go to the new Paris, it's all new. And I really wish कि जो IT park है हमारा, for example. So we had one very closely nurtured cultural area, heritage area. IT park का FAR वगैरह अगर बहुत थोड़ा high हो जाता, थोड़ा better हो जाता, तो वो एक iconic चीज़ बन जाती सर. अभी वो iconic बनने की कोशिश में है, लेकिन बाहर नहीं आ रही है. It's not becoming significant. So ये एक चीज़ है. मगर साहब, मैं कुछ गलत तो नहीं कर रहा. नहीं, I mean, थोड़ा सा और इसको तो कर सकते थे. If you see Paris, actual Paris is low profile. Suddenly you see a new Paris which is high profile. So the dynamics are very very in tune. हमारे यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा वो थोड़ा mistake हो गया. I think so. Chief साहब नहीं बैठे, चले गए. अच्छा हो गया मेरे लिए. So to conclude is any concluding remarks from the panelists?
कौशिक साहब, टमाटर नहीं है आपके पास जो मारने हमारे उठते नहीं ऐसे ना. टमाटर या अंडे वगैरह लेके आया.
क्यों इतना अच्छा तो बोले हम लोग. क्यों मारोगे टमाटर हम लोगों को? क्यों guys? We are very good ना? Thank you.
लोकल CCA में मारते थे ना अंडे आप प्रोफेसरों के कि भाई जल्दी क्लास खत्म करो.
I should thank my panelists. We had a great time, great discussions. We've talked about the balancing of the things. The takeaways are very important. I mean, we are, not going to disturb the aesthetics because of economy. We want to be sustainably correct. We want to be answerable to the society. We want to make choices which are opinionated. Value addition we want to give. This is our takeaways. And I must conclude like this, that architecture is a very complex profession, highly complicated, involves so many people, ideologies, issues, right from the start and the staff, it's complicated. So इसके अंदर एक natural balance करना is an art. That's why architecture is called the science and the art of building construction. It's the science and the art of building construction. So it's complicated. So जो कुछ भी इन लोगों ने किया, जो कुछ हमने किया, जो कुछ आप लोगों ने achieve किया, it's not easy. It's commendable. It's very easy to criticize. It's very difficult to build a small room of 10 by 10. So I think 3 cheers to my panelists. And 3 cheers to this fantastic audience. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, so now it's time to do the honors and do the felicitation ceremony to this panelist. For this, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Subrat Pandaji, Business Unit Head Structures from Jindal Steels and Power. Kindly please come and join us over the stage. The first audience we have is Bachitter Singh, Principal Architect, Bachitter Singh Associates. All right. So along with this, I would like to invite Mr. Biporji. So can we have a big round of applause from Mr. Bibor Srivastu? And the next we have is Principal Architect Renu Khanna and Associates say Renu Khanna ma'am. Guys, एक बार जोरदार तालियां please for everybody over here. Our panelists. And next, I would like to invite on stage Principal Architect by Designs, Sukumar Jaidath. And now with a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Piyush Saurav, Sales Manager from Duro, to please kindly come and join us over the stage. Can we have a big round of applause, please? And to receive the honor, I would like to invite Soman Bhaumik to please come forward and receive this honor. His specification, sales and lightning applications signify innovation India. तालियों की आवाज़ बहुत कम है. Please, can we have a big round of applause since we all are super packed. All right. And the next is, and the last we have is Surinder Bagaji, Principal Architect, Sakar Foundation. Also now, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a wrap-up design debate, a Chandigarh edition. That was a great session. And you have been an absolute wonderful audience, and I thank you for your patience. From me and the entire team of ITP Media India, I would like to thank our sponsors, presenting partners, Signify Innovations India, associate partners, Hefel, and Jindal partners, Jindal Panthers over here, and UPVC profile partner, Deconic, exhibit partners, Duro and Kuche 7. Thank you all of you for your support. And of course, I would like to thank our esteemed guests over here, our fantastic curator, and all the panelists for taking their valuable time for this evening and making this evening a phenomenal evening. Thank you so much, everyone. Can we have a big round of applause for everybody over here? With closing this evening, I would like to invite Bibor Srivastav sir to please close this evening and give a vote of thanks. Yeah.
I think it has been a marathon evening, but I think truly of substance. I think really it creates so much of thoughts and emotions. And I think the power of this room and the whole collective wisdom, and especially you see a lot of soul in design and architecture in this city. So give yourself a huge round of applause. Truly, you know, it really moves you. And Architect Sangeet Sharma ji, truly a big fan of yours, who steered the whole conversation. And at this time, at 9:30 p.m., everybody is absolutely alert and enjoying the session. So I think we really had a great time, a lot of learning to take away, a lot of discussion threads. And I, for one, carry one very good topic. And I'm really excited to bring the politics of architecture, with your permission and everybody in this room, as another thread and a leading thread of conversation so that design debate continues. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of thanks from ITP and all of us and all our valued partners who have supported us. Night is young. The bar is waiting on your left. And the food is really gorgeous here. This is one of the best hotels. So thank you once again. And we're going to put together an incredible coverage for people at large. And I forgot to thank all the people who are watching us live. Thank you for being patient. And we would love to hear your feedback so that we can go improving ourselves at every edition. Thank you very much.